All right, so before I really deep dive into this rant defend type video discussion, I just got to say this. I'm not saying any of these things to please anybody's ears. I'm not saying this to win anybody's hearts. This is purely coming from my heart and just how I feel about how gaming has been as of late. Now, some people's opinions about some things has been valid, don't get me wrong, but then sometimes it's been kind of cringy. Like some people show how privileged they are, I guess, or just picky. I don't know. But I will dive into that in just a sec. So without saying too much, let's really get into this. Also, I just have to say very quick, if you hear me constantly trying to breathe, it's because I don't know, my allergies are just messing with me at the moment. It is close to October and my allergies is kind of messing with me, so I apologize for the constant sniffing, but I gotta make it work. All right, so Overwatch 2, to be exact, being the first game to talk about here. I've been a fan of Overwatch since day one. Ever since I had access to the beta of the first game back in 2016, I think it was 2016. I loved it. I thought it was fun. Coming from playing games like League of Legends, I thought this was a fun hero shooter. Probably the only hero shooter that I really put about 100 hours into. But eventually, I kind of fell off because I stopped playing with my group of friends and whatnot. And yeah, and now I'm back on it and I'm having a blast. I feel like I just got better at the game as a whole. I don't try to go for kills and stuff like that. I don't always pick damage. As you can see here, I'm playing Brigitte, which is someone who got significantly nerfed. But you know, that's not what this is about. The problem is that this whole company, Blizzard, has been through a lot. The most I've ever seen for any video game company in my entire life. I don't remember even all the details, but I could just promise you that a lot of it's not even good. There's a lot of harassment and whatnot, and I'm pretty sure there's 1,000 YouTube videos about it. But unfortunately, it led a lot of people to have a different opinion. Even I had a different opinion about the company or the game itself because now it's free to play. Now it has a battle pass. There's no more loot boxes. You gotta earn the characters. Big changes versus what you had before. Before you just paid $40 or whatever, and you got all the characters, and there was loot boxes. Now, I would say this. I miss loot boxes. I really do. Because there is a chance of you getting a decent skin. And there's a chance of you just getting even a spray that you kind of want. Or get the credit to buy that spray. You didn't have to really put money down to get what you want. But that's kind of like the whole thing of why I'm making this video. There is absolutely no reason of why you should put 5 or 10 or $20 into this game so you can play better. Everything else revolves around you. Yeah, there will be balance changes, so some heroes may be strong today and it'll be weak next week, whatever, right? Or vice versa. Yeah, you will deal with that, but that's up to the actual company and stuff. You don't pay the developers to change anything. I mean, unless you're part of some sort of conspiracy, but other than that, you don't pay the developers to change these heroes. You don't put money down to change the core gameplay. You don't have to spend a dime on microtransactions. Yes, there would be a skin that you'll see, be like, damn, that looks cool. But that's just kind of like the whole thing about gaming now. Unfortunately, they got to make money somewhere. Is it a great practice? Not necessarily, because it's being poorly received. But is it something that you have to do? Do you have to break bread to get a cool skin? Hell, not even that, because sometimes you got to spend like $5 or $10, and then you get that one skin, you can get something else. It's not that big of a deal, especially for in this case, it's free to play. I don't really think it's that big of a deal for the most part. And I used to be someone who was like, how can I put it? It's like I thought it was a problem as well, where it's just like I don't want to put money just for a skin, but at the same time, it's like if you really don't have $5, then that's a problem. And that might sound just controversial. That might be a controversial take, but it's like what I said in the beginning. I'm not here to please anybody's ears. I am being as honest as I possibly can, because so far after me playing this, coming back to it at least, I haven't spent a dime, and I have been having a blast. I've been picking characters I wasn't playing with before. I've been going back to old characters that I play with. I've just been learning things. It's just been fun, and it's been mostly just by myself. I got my girlfriend to play with me now, but she's like completely brand new to it. But also, that's still fun. I'm still having a blast with that. Occasionally, I'll do competitive just to see exactly how good I get at the game. But for the most part, I'm having fun. I really am. Besides the nurse and whatnot, Doomfist is not the same. I really do miss the Rising Uppercut. I hate to sound like a broken record, but in the end, these microtransactions mean nothing. Okay? The microtransactions didn't take away the Rising Uppercut for Doomfist. It didn't take away May's ability to just completely just wipe out a whole team at some point. You know, like that's all from just balancing everything out because some things were too strong or some things were just too weak. That's purely it. And I think it's hilarious now because if you go on YouTube and you look at like a review of Overwatch 2, a lot of people are going to say something negative about it. And I was questioning myself. It's like, am I just delusional here? Am I really just not seeing what everyone else is seeing? And after what 5, 6, 7, 8 more hours of playing Overwatch 2, it's like, you know what? No, it's just I think people are just being picky. It's kind of like, and I hate to even say this, there were like a few developers saying that like, oh, people are just quick to hate things. They're all in the hate trend. Is I don't know. It's sort of true. It's sort of true. Like it's not perfect. Oh, you know what? I would say this though, and I had to bring this up because this is one thing I was looking forward to, and it's one thing I can agree with. The PVE mode has been butchered. I haven't actually put my fingers into it because once again I didn't pay for it. But that was the problem. I didn't want to pay for it. They said it was going to come with the game, but now you have to put $15 down. That's the one thing they did drop the ball on because I was really looking forward to that. Hell, I went as far as well, I'm sorry, I didn't go as far as to looking into the gameplay. I didn't only because I felt like I should have access to that. And they do give you a free version of some sort, but it's not the PVE you expect, and it's just not the PVE that you pay for. So I played it. It's okay. I got tired of it like within maybe 10 minutes or so. I really wish you could have done more, but I guess it is what it is, right? Not much we can really do about it. Moving on. Just moving on. But I can definitely agree with anyone. That's probably one of the most disappointing parts of the recent changes of this game. And a part of me sort of understands from a business perspective, but for the most part, I don't like the fact that they took that away from us. I can definitely say that now. In conclusion, I am still enjoying this game for what it is. It's no longer really phenomenal. The hero trailers are not as crazy as it used to be, so like the story building is not as great as it used to be. But I'll be honest, even when those trailers, like the stories you saw for Soldier 76 or even May, they weren't really crazy. They were just little details they showed, which was cool. But I feel like even those took a while for them to come out. There was like huge gaps between them, and it seemed like they don't really make hero trailers at the current time. They just make trailers for the heroes, you know. But it's fine, I guess. I guess that is the one thing that also kind of makes me feel a certain way about it. But hey, it is what it is. Like I would still play everything else. Like I still play Street Fighter, even though the story is not necessarily like the bestest. I mean, it's a fighting game, big difference. But moving on. Dying Light 2 is the real reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place. Yes, Overwatch 2 has a special place in my heart or whatever, but in the end, it comes back to Dying Light 2. I played this game day one, I pre-ordered it, I was a big fan of the first one. Only years later it was released, I remember seeing the trailers at E3, but I never actually bought it on day one. Eventually, maybe like 1 or 2 years later, that's when I played Dying Light. So I didn't get to experience some of the bugs that people talked about back then when the first one came out. But again, it is what it is. Moving on to, I played this day one, and it definitely had some issues. It was both cool that they upgraded and they did some things different from the first game, and then some things felt a little off. Like when you hit someone, it didn't feel as impactful. You didn't see like their limbs cut off and stuff like that. At least it was hard to get that. I remember just not really like feeling the best, but they really tried to make sure that you were this parkour master, and which is something they really did make better as a whole. I wasn't a big fan of the constant stamina drain that's in this game. It's not just from sprinting or climbing. It's like almost everything you do drains stamina. But I guess from recent updates, they decided to really change that. And last year, when I was playing this, I played it all the way through. I played this all the way through before I even finished Elden Ring. Spoiler alert, I didn't even finish Elden Ring, but that's just another story. And overall, I like the first one better. I went back to play the first game because this one just felt so lacklustering. Now a lot of things were fun about it. I remember when I was playing it, they changed the grappling hook just a little bit because some exploit got exposed, and they were like, "Oh, we can't have that." So they changed up a few things. The grappling hook felt like donkey butter. It was just straight trash. I didn't like it. It didn't feel fun or exciting at all. And this is coming from someone who is a pretty big Spider-Man fan. I've been playing Spider-Man games for as long as I can remember. So if you take away a good swinging mechanic, you're definitely just gonna displease me as a whole because I am a huge fan of parkour and jumping high in the sky or just like traversal. I'm a big fan of it, really am. Um, and that's just my whole thing. It felt very clunky. It felt extremely nerfed. It made me not like the protagonist because he just felt like a watered down version of Kyle Crane. I wasn't even a big Kyle Crane fan, but it made me miss him so much because, like, damn, if Kyle Crane was here, he probably would have made that jump. It made me feel like that. Only because, again, the stamina drain mechanics that they had before, it just wasn't as good. But from looking at the patch notes that they have, like, just over the year of this game being released, it seems like they really did change it up and they made it so much better, more tolerable to deal with. The story to this game as well is actually pretty impressive. They, I wouldn't say it's better than the first game, but it's still a little bit interesting for the most part. I do remember, sorry if you haven't beaten this already, but hell, it's been a year. When you get to the end and you fight the final boss, I remember dealing with a ton of glitches where like he got stuck in the wall, and it was a lot of things where I couldn't even find him. It was just kind of annoying. It was just this long, drawn out boss fight, and just didn't like it. Like it just didn't feel like they tried their hardest. They tried their best with that. They kind of just like got tired. It's like, here you go, here's a boss fight. Versus of what the hell you had in the first game where you couldn't even have somebody with you. You were just completely by yourself, and it was all just QTE. I guess it's an improvement, but it was a very buggy improvement, and oh, it was embarrassing. Really, I didn't feel anything when I ended the game. Finally, I was just like, I'm just kind of just done. And I tried to play it afterwards, and it just didn't do it for me. Sorry, it was a long story, but in the end, this game really did start off rough, and it was very hard to defend it at the time. But now, oh boy. So not only did they change the stamina, but they also kind of reworked the nighttime a little bit, where it's like I think you just gain a hell of a lot more experience. You got enemies that will definitely just mess you up on sight, which is pretty thrilling in my opinion. This is like by far a scary game, but they definitely try to do things to make it, put you on edge. Because honestly, being chased this time around, it does feel very, very horrifying. On top of that, it finally gave this game some sort of replay value because then he added, what is it, a legend skill tree, which I haven't gotten to yet because I haven't beaten this game again. I did beat this game on another account, and I would not get into that story. But I beat it on another account, and I had to start all over. So, which is fine with me because I don't remember the story that much. It's definitely the story feels more impressive this time around. Second time around, at least. I do remember some things. I want to say I'm about halfway here because this is the footage of me climbing up to the building. But overall, I'm just here to say, you know it, that this game is just not dead. No, no pun intended. I really think it's actually it got better. They really tried to fix up what was wrong with the game initially. Let's start with the crashes, because if I do remember, this game did crash on me quite a few times, and I'm playing on a PS5 version, on a PS5, of course, and it just, yeah, it just crashed on me. It almost felt like, dare I say, Cyberpunk. But then again, Cyberpunk barely even crashed on me compared to this game. It just had way too many issues, and I just couldn't get around it. But now I feel like they got it to a point where it's just a lot more stable. It's just a lot more replay value, like I said. Because not only do you have New Game Plus, because that was not in the first game, or not in the initial release, but you also have like bounties you can do where you just go around like one bounty you kill a bunch of renegades with a ranged weapon, and eventually lead up to you earning a prize, and it'll lead to you getting something like a katana. There's little missions you can do like that, which are honestly pretty damn nice because what else are you gonna do besides go around kill zombies or monsters so you can level up? The most reason why people said this game is dead now is because of the microtransactions. And it's like, what is why are people so afraid of microtransactions? Because once more, you don't have to spend anything on this game. You don't have to. It's all just cosmetic. Now, there is one particular thing you could buy in the shop that gives you a knife. And a lot of people hate the fact that you have to spend money just to get a knife. But I'm like, but this is a game where you can get an axe, you can get a buzzsaw, you can get a gun hammer, you can use a broken table as a weapon. You know, you can use so many other different weapons, but for some reason, a knife being withheld through a paywall is a problem. If I was in a zombie apocalypse, I would want just a knife to fight with. I want to use almost everything. Like makeshift is cool to me. I think if you find a way to make a broom a deadly weapon, I think that's actually pretty cool in my opinion. But apparently a knife is just cooler. Now the knife has a more of a stabbing animation. It looks pretty cool from what I've seen, but for the most part it's just a knife. It's just a knife. Meanwhile, if you do one of these bounties or for the agents or whatever, you get a whole katana. So, like, if you put that on the scale for me, honestly, I feel like the katana definitely outweighs the knife. Besides the actual weight of it, it just, it just does. I'm not gonna bitch and moan about it. And it's like I said before, I'm not here to please anyone's ears. If you don't like it, then oh well. It's just a knife. It doesn't mean you're gonna be all powerful, so you're gonna kill everything in one hit. Doesn't mean you're gonna scale up the wall. It's gonna make you jump higher. It's gonna make you stronger as a whole. You're gonna feel more safe with the knife. No, it's just a knife that you don't have to get. That you purely just do not have to get. And I feel like the people who say, "Oh, it's stuck behind the paywall. It's just a problem." No, you're the problem. You're making it seem like this game is just complete utter trash because it has microtransactions now. I feel like that's the complete opposite. Well, I wouldn't say it's better with microtransactions because hell, even the first game had it, and the first game was a pretty big hit once they started like updating and whatnot. Once they started like adding more things to it, besides that one DLC where you're like in a castle. I didn't really like that DLC, but regardless, what I'm trying to say is, I feel like people are just so scared of these microtransactions. They don't really want to learn what makes this game actually fun to play. Like, you can drop kick zombies off a skyscraper. How is that not fun to people? I remember there was this one YouTuber in particular that I saw that made a big deal about the microtransactions, made a big deal about a knife being behind a paywall. I do not remember the name, and nor did I want to start any type of YouTube beef because, quite honestly, nobody even knows who I am. I only have about 20 subscribers, but regardless of that, they complain about it, and guess what? They still bought it to show footage of it. Now, this is someone who has at least about 100,000 subscribers, and yet they complained about that they had to spend their money to buy a weapon. It's like it just truly showed of how privileged some people can really be. Because, like I said, I'm old. I'm from the 90s. I grew up with games that weren't connected to the internet, games that didn't get an update. The most of a update or balance check that I got from any game was Street Fighter 2. And I was born near the end of that. I was born when like Super Street Fighter 2 was a thing. But as I become older, I got to see Super Street Fighter 2 HD Remix. I got to see that game go to Game Boy Advance. Then last but not least, they put Street Fighter 2 on the Switch, and it was called Ultra Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I don't even know, but that is the most updated I got from any game. Games like Perfect Dark that I played on 64, if you play with anybody, especially like co-op missions, it would lag. The frame rate would just completely drop. It wouldn't be really fun anymore because you're playing in slow motion. You would wish that that person was off the controller and they just probably went home or something because your frame rate dipped down to like 10 frames per second. That's how bad it was. There was no update that was going to fix that. There was no developers that was going to come in and make your game better on a computer or something like that. No, you kind of just dealt with it, which is probably why I'm kind of just dealing with it now. These games are not even all that bad. And hell, I'll give you recent ones. There are games like Metal Gear Survive, and this is me being a pretty decent Metal Gear fan. I mean, I played practically all of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I won't include any other ones. But Metal Gear Survive has to be like one of the worst Metal Gear games I've ever played in my entire life. That was just not redeemable. And it's not because it crashed, not because I fell through the floor or anything crazy like that. No, it just wasn't redeemable. It just wasn't. It just purely wasn't. I really tried to get into it. I really tried to just bite the bullet and just get used to it, and I just couldn't. It just would not happen. Hell, I'm one of those people who still like what is it? Doom 2016. I wouldn't prefer it over Doom Eternal, but I would still play it. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It's still playable. It still can be fun in its own way. The problem is nowadays is it's almost really like what the developers are saying. People are just quick to hate something and everyone just jump on that train. That's not the exact words, but it seems like that's just what's going on now. The moment they see 10 other people hate something, next thing you know, you got 100 people hating something. That 100 goes to 1,000. That 1,000 goes to the 5,000. So on and so forth. But really, if you just spend the time to just learn what this game is all about, some of the stuff's not all that bad. Like, this story is pretty good. Me climbing up to this tower and this footage here was actually pretty cool. It's probably one of the best moments in the entire game. I don't remember anything really getting better from here. This was like a really good moment because you had a character that was supposed to doubt, well, he was supposed to help you, but he ended up doubting you, saying it's suicide, calling you a moron, saying you're an idiot, just completely doubting the fact that you cannot climb this tower. And then in the end, you climbed the whole thing with this Matrix-like music playing in the background. That sounds very inspiring. Like, just little moments like that really mean something, and that's what really makes a game. It's not because of, what you bought in the store. Like, you think people hop on Counter-Strike and buy an AK skin and they just all of a sudden become great at the game? Or they all of a sudden just love the game because of the skin? No, they're just loving the game because they love the game. That's just solely it. They got good, or maybe they're having a good day. It's not the skin that made them good. It's not the weapon that made them good. It's just they had a good day, so now all of a sudden they're just enjoying it. Cosmetics do nothing for you. and it's all they are selling to you. Especially since now they're going to support Dying Light 2 for the next 5 years, like how they did with the first one. And honestly, I am all for it. I really am. Until they just do something completely vile, and I'll probably make a video about it. I am all for it. I love the first one, and I love this one. And hopefully, if things really go right, we'll see a third one. Now, see, y'all done made me ramble for about almost 30 minutes about this. I feel like I could still go on, but I would just be repeating myself like some broken record. Overall, I'm enjoying both of these sequel games. I really do think they have more potential to live for as long as they possibly can. I will be I would be damned if they make an Overwatch 3, in my opinion. I feel like at this point they might just make a whole new series of some sort. But that's just my opinion. And like I said, I'll be there when they make a Dying Light 3 because I really did enjoy this. Um, I enjoyed Dying Light 2 way too much than I really thought I was going to. At least now I did. On day one, it was terrible. But it's kind of how it happened nowadays, right? I remember it did get delayed like 3 or 4 times before it was finally released. It was supposed to be released in 2021, I believe, but then it came out early 2022. But stuff happens. Making video games isn't necessarily brain dead. You got to put some thought into it. There's money thrown around. There's just people who no longer work there, people who don't agree on the same creative wavelength. It differences happens. It happens. It's kind of like how it is now. You don't just simply create a video game. But that's all I got to say. Thank you for watching and listening to me rant like an old man. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll definitely be back just to rant some more because honestly, I thought this was kind of fun. But have yourself a great night and take care.